Also care. We don't leave others to face the storm alone. Her eyes softened, reflecting a mixture of admiration and awe. In my world, survival is cold. You survive or you die. There is no trust, no warmth. But you are different. Stronger, not just in body, but in heart. I shrugged lightly, unsure how to respond. Words felt small compared to the trust I saw growing in her eyes. So instead, I went back to work, repairing the door and stacking more wood by the fire. She watched quietly, occasionally glancing at the window and then back at me. Every glance carried unspoken questions, and every time, I tried to answer them without words. Finally, she spoke again, softly. I was going to leave, before. When the storm hit, I thought I could survive alone. But I did not. I was afraid. Afraid of the storm, yes, but afraid of trusting someone. She paused, drawing the blanket tighter around her shoulders. And now, I see that I can trust you. Her words struck me. Trust. Something she had never given lightly, and now she offered it to me after only one night. It was fragile, yes, but real. And in that fragile trust, I felt a deep, unspoken bond forming. A bridge between two worlds, built on care, courage, and the human way of surviving together. I smiled, moving closer to the fire and letting the warmth reach her. Trust is hard, I said softly, but it makes us stronger. Stronger than fear. Stronger than storms. She nodded slowly, her glowing eyes reflecting the firelight. For the first time, she seemed relaxed, letting herself feel warmth and safety without questioning it. Her shoulders uncurled, her breathing became steady, and she even allowed herself a small smile. We sat together in silence for a while, listening to the soft sounds of melting snow outside. The storm was gone, but its memory lingered. And yet, inside this little hut, the storm of fear had been replaced by something new. Hope, understanding, and a connection that neither of us had expected. Humans. She whispered, almost to herself, "You endure. Not just the storm, but each other. You care, you protect, and you inspire." I did not believe it until now. I nodded quietly. "We always do," I said. "It's who we are." Her eyes met mine, full of unspoken emotion. She had come here afraid, lost, and alone. Now she stayed, trusting not just my strength, but my heart. And in that moment, I realized something profound. Survival wasn't only about enduring storms or facing danger. It was about connection, courage, and the human way of standing together. No matter how cold or harsh the world might be. And for the first time, I saw her not just as a stranger or a lost traveler, but as someone beginning to understand humans and the quiet, unshakable power of hope, care, and trust that defines us. The storm had passed entirely. The mountains were quiet now, their peaks covered in soft white snow, sparkling faintly in the pale sunlight. The wind had calmed, leaving the world still and serene. Inside the hut, the fire's warmth spread evenly, chasing away the last chill of the night. She stood near the doorway, her glowing blue skin reflecting the soft light. Her eyes, wide and thoughtful, scanned the snow-covered landscape, and then fell on me. I never imagined your world could be so beautiful," she said softly, her voice full of wonder. She took a cautious step forward, letting herself feel warmth not just from the fire, but from something deeper, something human. I smiled gently, stepping closer. "It's beautiful, yes, but the beauty isn't just outside. It's in people, how we endure, how we care, how we survive together." She looked at me, her glowing eyes searching, as if trying to understand the simple truth behind my words. I thought survival was only about strength, about fighting, about being alone. She shook her head slowly, almost in disbelief. "But you survive differently. You endure. With heart. With courage. With kindness. I do not know how to explain it. You don't need to explain, I said quietly. You just need to see it. And maybe, one day, you'll understand it yourself. She moved closer to the fire, letting the warmth seep into her body. I handed her a cup of hot tea, still steaming, and she took it carefully, her fingers brushing mine. That touch, small as it was, carried a weight heavier than snowstorms. Trust had been forged here, in this tiny hut, in the middle of a blizzard that had threatened to take everything. For a long moment, we simply looked at each other. No words were needed. The fear that had brought her here was gone, replaced not just by warmth, but by understanding, respect, and hope. She had come as a stranger, frightened and unsure. Now she stayed, believing not just in her survival, but in the quiet, unshakable power of humans. I do not think I would have made it without you, she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. Not just the storm, but myself, my fear, my doubts. You saved me. I shook my head softly. No one survives alone. You were brave too. You endured the storm, even when it seemed impossible. You just needed someone to stand with you. Her eyes glistened as she smiled faintly. For the first time, I saw her completely at ease, letting go of fear, letting trust bloom. And in that moment, I realized something simple, yet profound. Survival wasn't just about strength or skill. It was about connection, about hope, about being human. Outside, the snow sparkled under the clearing sky. The world was silent, clean, and beautiful. Inside the hut, two beings from different worlds stood together, bound not by shared history, but by shared understanding. She had come to escape a storm, but she had found something greater, the human way. Thank you, she whispered softly, her voice full of meaning. For showing me hope. For showing me humans. I smiled, looking out at the snow-covered mountains. We always endure. We always care. That's who we are. That's what makes us human. She nodded, letting the words sink in, her eyes reflecting something she had never felt before: trust, admiration, and the quiet wonder of discovering a world she hadn't believed existed. And I knew, as I looked at her, that she would carry this lesson wherever she went. That humans, though fragile and ordinary in many ways, could inspire courage, hope, and trust, even in the darkest storms. And in that small hut, surrounded by snow and silence, humanity had quietly shown its might, not in battle, not in weapons, not in conquest, but in heart, endurance, and unwavering care. The blizzard had ended, but the story and the bond we had forged would last far longer than the cold ever could. The storm had passed entirely. The mountains were quiet now, their peaks covered in soft white snow, sparkling faintly in the pale sunlight. The wind had calmed, leaving the world still and serene. Inside the hut, the fire's warmth spread evenly, chasing away the last chill of the night. She stood near the doorway, her glowing blue skin reflecting the soft light. Her eyes, wide and thoughtful, scanned the snow-covered landscape, and then fell on me. I never imagined your world could be so beautiful, she said softly, her voice full of wonder. She took a cautious step forward, letting herself feel warmth, not just from the fire, but from something deeper, something human. I smiled gently, stepping closer. It's beautiful, yes, but the beauty isn't just outside. It's in people, how we endure, how we care, how we survive together. She looked at me, her glowing eyes searching, as if trying to understand the simple truth behind my words. I thought survival was only about strength, about fighting, about being alone. She shook her head slowly, almost in disbelief. But you survive differently. You endure, with heart, with courage, with kindness. I do not know how to explain it. You don't need to explain, I said quietly. You just need to see it. And maybe, one day, you'll understand it yourself. She moved closer to the fire, letting the warmth seep into her body. I handed her a cup of hot tea, still steaming, and she took it carefully, her fingers brushing mine. That touch, small as it was, carried a weight heavier than snowstorms. Trust had been forged here, in this tiny hut, in the middle of a blizzard that had threatened to take everything. For a long moment, we simply looked at each other. No words were needed. The fear that had brought her here was gone, replaced not just by warmth, but by understanding, respect, and hope. She had come as a stranger, frightened and unsure. Now she stayed, believing not just in her survival, but in the quiet, unshakable power of humans. I do not think I would have made it without you, she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. Not just the storm, but myself, my fear, my doubts. You saved me. I shook my head softly. No one survives alone. You were brave too. You endured the storm, even when it seemed impossible. You just needed someone to stand with you. Her eyes glistened as she smiled faintly. For the first time, I saw her completely at ease, letting go of fear, letting trust bloom. And in that moment, I realized something simple, yet profound. Survival wasn't just about strength or skill. It was about connection, about hope, about being human. Outside, the snow sparkled under the clearing sky. The world was silent, clean, and beautiful. Inside the hut, two beings from different worlds stood together, bound not by shared history, but by shared understanding. She had come to escape a storm, but she had found something greater, the human way. Thank you, she whispered softly, her voice full of meaning. For showing me hope, for showing me humans. I smiled, looking out at the snow-covered mountains. We always endure. We always care. That's who we are. That's what makes us human. She nodded, letting the words sink in, her eyes reflecting something she had never felt before: trust, admira. Princess Avara of the High Clades was used to strong warriors. All her life, she watched soldiers with sharp armor, loud voices, and the kind of confidence that filled entire rooms. Her royal guards were tall, proud, and trained by the best academies in the galaxy. They stood like statues and moved like storms. That was the kind of protection she understood. So when the council assigned a rookie human to her escort team for the Outer Wilds expedition, she expected someone similar, someone bold, someone shining, someone who carried the fierce reputation humans were known for. Instead, she got Rion Haladat. He stepped off the transport ship with slow, careful steps, as if he didn't want the floor to feel his weight. His boots were quiet. His breathing was quiet. Even his eyes were quiet, soft brown, thoughtful, almost shy. He carried no scars, no medals, no weapons bigger than standard issue. His armor didn't shine. It looked like he had polished it too many times, trying to make it perfect. Avara stared at him, confused. This was the human they sent? This was the one who would protect a princess in one of the most unpredictable regions of the galaxy? He looked younger than some of her trainees. His shoulders were narrow, his posture gentle. When he saluted, it wasn't sharp or demanding. It was respectful, almost humble. "Princess Avara," he said softly. "It is an honor." His voice was calm, too calm for someone standing in front of royalty. Most humans tried to impress her. They spoke loudly, proudly. They wanted her approval. But Ryan didn't try to be impressive. He simply stood there, hands behind his back, expression peaceful, like a quiet breeze passing through an open window. Her advisor leaned close and whispered, "Your Highness, he is delicate." Delicate. Avara couldn't disagree. She gave a small nod, dismissing the rookie in her mind. If he stayed behind the group, and didn't cause trouble, she would consider it a success. He didn't need to be impressive. He just needed to not slow them down. Still, something about him felt unusual. When her guards marched, the sound echoed through the royal hangar. But when Ryan walked, it was like he wasn't touching the ground. He moved with an effortless grace, as though his body knew how to fit into empty spaces. Even when other soldiers rushed past him, he slid aside with no stumble, no awkwardness. He flowed. Avara tried to ignore the odd feeling rising in her chest, but it stayed. He wasn't normal. He also wasn't dangerous. He was simply different, and she didn't know what to do with different. During the pre-mission briefing, Ryan sat in the back, listening carefully. Some guards whispered about him. He looks too soft. Probably from a calm colony. He won't survive a day in the outer wilds. Avara tried to stay formal, but her curiosity kept pulling her attention toward him. Whenever a new creature or danger was mentioned, the other guards tensed. They imagined sharp teeth, strange toxins, unpredictable wildlife. But Ryan? He listened like he was hearing a story, not a warning. His eyes held no fear, only wonder. It was unsettling. Was he naive? Or did he know something the others didn't? After the briefing, she approached him out of royal duty. "Human," she said politely, "HFY is not a safe place. Even experienced hunters hesitate to travel its forests. Are you prepared for this expedition?" Ryan looked at her with those calm, steady eyes. "I will do my best, Princess." "You may find the creatures overwhelming," she warned. He gave a very small smile. "Creatures don't usually overwhelm me, Your Highness." The way he said it, gentle but certain, left her speechless. Before she could respond, one of her guards called her name, and she turned away, her royal cape brushing the floor as she walked. But even as she moved on, her thoughts stayed behind. Ryan, Halle, the quiet human. The rookie who didn't look like a soldier at all. She didn't know why, but a strange feeling whispered inside her heart. This rookie was going to surprise someone. She just didn't know it would be her first. The journey to HFY began early the next morning. Princess Avara stood near the shuttle ramp, surrounded by trained guards in bright armor. Engines hummed, metal vibrated softly, and the smell of fuel filled the air. Everyone prepared themselves with discipline and tension. Everyone except Ryan. He stood a little apart from the others, hands folded behind his back, eyes lifted toward the glowing planet below. HFY looked peaceful from space, a swirl of green, blue, and soft golden fog. But Avara knew better. The outer wilds of this moon were unpredictable, full of hidden dangers and ancient beings that didn't obey any common rule. As the shuttle descended, the clouds broke open and revealed an endless jungle, trees taller than towers, vines thick as ropes, rivers glowing faintly under the sunlight. But the jungle felt alive in a strange way. Not just alive like plants, alive like something watching. The moment the shuttle landed, Avara felt the air shift. It was dense, warm, and filled with a strange humming energy that tickled the back of her neck. Her guards stepped out first, scanning the surroundings with sharp eyes and ready weapons. Ryan stepped out last, but the moment his boot touched the forest floor, something unusual happened. The humming in the air changed. It softened. It warmed. Almost like the forest sighed in recognition. Avara blinked. She had never heard of HFY reacting to a person before. The forest normally ignored visitors, or treated them like intruders, yet the vines near Ryan seemed to loosen, like they were relaxing. Leaves shifted lightly as if catching the new breeze, even though the air was still. Ryan simply looked around with quiet wonder, unaware of the subtle change he had caused. "This place," he whispered, "it feels alive." One guard smirked. "It's a jungle, rookie. Of course it's alive." But Avara noticed the difference. The guard's steps crushed fallen leaves. Ryan's steps barely disturbed them. She tried to dismiss the thought. Maybe she was imagining things. The group moved forward, following a narrow path through the thick greenery. Animals rustled in the distance. Strange calls echoed from treetops. Most first-time visitors felt nervous entering HFY, but Ryan walked with peaceful curiosity. Like he was exploring a familiar childhood forest, Avara kept glancing back at him. At one point, the wind shifted, carrying a low growl from somewhere deep within the trees. Her guards stiffened instantly. Hands moved to weapons. Eyes sharpened. Ryan just paused, closed his eyes for a moment, and breathed deeply like he was listening to the growl instead of fearing it. "Human," Avara called softly. "That was an apex creature." "Yes," he answered quietly. "You don't seem afraid." He opened his eyes and looked at her with calm honesty. "Fear is natural. But right now, the forest doesn't feel hostile." "The forest?" He spoke as if HFY was a single being with emotions. Avara felt a strange shiver, not of fear, but of curiosity. They trekked deeper. The farther they went, the stranger the environment became. Some trees glowed softly like lanterns. Pools of water shimmered with sparkling dust. Even the ground felt warm under their boots, almost like a heartbeat pulsing through the soil. Ryan noticed everything. He paused often, not delaying the group, just studying small details. A flower opening slowly. A vine shifting position. A creature hopping between branches. And every time he paused, the forest reacted. Nothing dangerous, nothing dramatic, just small subtle responses. Leaves tilting toward him, light shifting softly, air growing gentler. Avara felt something tighten in her chest. Who was this human? He was too calm, too connected, too accepted by a world known for rejecting outsiders. She walked beside him for a moment and asked quietly, "Ryan, have you been to a place like this before?" He shook his head. "No, Princess. But it feels like the forest knows me." Avara didn't have an answer. All she knew was that the outer wilds, a place feared by her entire kingdom, was behaving differently today. And the reason walked with soft footsteps behind her. The forest was watching him, and somehow it wasn't afraid. The deeper Princess Avara's team ventured into HFY, the stranger the world became. Towering trees blocked the sun, and their massive roots twisted across the paths like sleeping giants. Faint mist rose from the jungle floor, curling around every branch, every leaf. Avara's guards grew tense. Even seasoned soldiers, trained for galactic expeditions, whispered uneasily about the strange noises in the distance, howls, clicks, and murmurs that seemed almost like language. Yet Ryan walked calmly at the rear, observing, listening, and moving in perfect rhythm with the jungle. Every time a shadow flickered in the undergrowth, his head tilted slightly, as if acknowledging a silent presence. His movements were deliberate, but gentle. He didn't disturb the leaves. He didn't snap twigs. The forest seemed to bend around him, giving him space, almost as if it knew him. Avara's curiosity grew stronger with each step. She had never seen a human or anyone move through the outer wilds like this. Usually, even the best trackers carried tension in their shoulders, fear in their eyes, and weapons drawn at every sound. But Ryan, his face was calm, almost serene. There was no trace of panic, no sudden reflexes. Only awareness. "Ryan," Avara said quietly as they paused near a sparkling river. "How do you do this?" "The forest. It doesn't seem to threaten you at all." He knelt beside the river, letting his hand hover over the water without touching it. The surface rippled lightly, as if responding to his presence. "I don't fight it," he said softly. "I listen. That's all. The forest. It speaks, if you care to hear." Avara frowned. She had heard stories about the outer wild, stories of predators so cunning they could track entire squads without being seen, of plants that could crush a grown human without warning, of strange energies that disoriented travelers. No human had ever been known to move safely through these lands without special training or technology. And yet, Ryan was moving as if the jungle itself was guiding him. The team pressed forward, and the strange whispers grew louder. Avara's guards raised their weapons when a shadow moved between the trees, expecting the worst. But Ryan only raised a hand, small and calm, and the shadow paused. A creature, massive and elegant, with glowing eyes and long, sinewy limbs, emerged fully into the clearing. The guards stiffened. Every instinct screamed to attack. Avara herself felt a wave of caution rise within her. But Ryan didn't flinch. He stepped forward slowly, chest open, hands relaxed. The creature tilted its head, staring at him. Then, something extraordinary happened. It lowered itself slightly, crouched but not threatening. Its glowing eyes softened, and the tension in the air seemed to dissolve. Avara's heart raced. The rookie had done what no one could. He had calmed a predator of the outer wilds without a weapon, without a display of force, simply by existing peacefully. She wanted to ask him how, but no words came. Instead, she watched, mesmerized, as the creature circled him once, sniffed the air around him, and then retreated into the shadows, leaving them unharmed. "Do you see?" Ryan said softly. "It isn't fear. It's recognition. The jungle. It knows I don't mean harm." Avara's throat tightened. She had always respected strength, measured by combat, by power, by dominance. But here, in this alien jungle, she saw another kind of strength, a quiet, invisible force that commanded respect without raising a weapon. Her eyes met his. For the first time, she understood that she had underestimated him. Not because he lacked skill, but because she had never imagined a human could hold such harmony with a world that demanded fear and aggression from everyone who entered it. The mist swirled around Ryan as he stood again, his eyes scanning the dense jungle. Avara felt a shiver, part awe, part fear, part wonder. She realized that this quiet rookie, the one she thought fragile and harmless, was not only surviving in the outer wilds. He was thriving, and the wilds themselves seemed to whisper in approval. She swallowed hard. Something had changed. Ryan Holly was not what she had expected, and Avara knew, deep in her heart, that the real journey was only beginning. Twilight fell over the dense jungle of HFY, painting the misty trees in deep shades of green and gold. The forest seemed alive in every sense. Every rustle, every shadow, every whisper of wind carried an unspoken message. Princess Avara's guards were alert, their weapons raised and eyes scanning the undergrowth for any sign of danger. The jungle was known for its apex predators, creatures that could silence entire squads with a single strike. Ryan walked calmly near the back of the group, hands relaxed at his sides, his gaze soft yet aware. He did not carry the tension that filled the guards' movements. He did not tighten his grip on his weapon. Instead, he simply listened, observed, and moved in perfect harmony with the jungle. Every step he took seemed to make the forest breathe easier, as if it trusted him. The first sign of danger was subtle, a faint shimmer of movement between the trees. Avara felt it before she saw it. The air grew colder, heavier, and every creature around them fell silent. Even the soft glow of the plants seemed dimmer. Her heart tightened. The stories were true. Something massive was coming. A deep growl rolled through the trees, vibrating the ground beneath their boots. The guards froze. Avara's grip tightened on her staff. And then it appeared, the Night Stalker dot. It was enormous, with limbs long and powerful, eyes glowing like molten amber. Its sleek body moved with grace and precision, muscles rippling under glimmering scales. The jungle itself seemed to part for it, clearing a path as it approached. Every instinct in Avara's body screamed to run, to strike, to hide, but Ryan didn't move. The beast stopped a few meters away, its glowing eyes fixed on the quiet human. The tension in the air was unbearable. Avara's guards whispered among themselves. They had faced hunters, beasts, even rogue soldiers, but never a predator like this, never with such confidence in its hunt. Ryan's eyes met the Night Stalker's. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, almost imperceptibly, the creature's posture changed. Its ears flattened. Its tail lowered. Its muscles relaxed. Avara could hardly believe it. The Night Stalker, apex predator of HFY, the terror of entire expeditions, was no longer threatening. It was cautious, respectful, almost curious. "Ryan," Avara whispered, her voice trembling with awe. How are you doing this?" Ryan remained calm, his voice soft and gentle. "I am not doing anything, Princess. I am listening. I am letting it understand that I mean no harm." The beast circled him slowly, its massive claws barely touching the ground. It sniffed the air, tilted its glowing head, and then without a sound stepped back. The tension around them lifted, and the forest seemed to exhale, releasing the fear it had held. Avara felt a wave of emotion she hadn't expected. Relief, awe, amazement, and a little fear of the quiet human standing before her. He had not fought. He had not threatened. He had not used power in the way she understood it. And yet, he had commanded respect from one of the deadliest creatures in the galaxy. The guards exchanged astonished glances, whispering among themselves. They could not explain it. None of them had ever seen anything like this. Ryan looked at Avara, his expression soft but serious. The forest, the creatures. They can feel fear, pride, or calmness. They understand intentions. If we meet them with aggression, they react with aggression. But if we meet them with patience, they will listen. Avara swallowed hard, realizing how wrong she had been to judge him at first. She had assumed he was fragile, inexperienced, and naive. But here, in the heart of the outer wilds, he was stronger than anyone else she had ever known. Not with weapons, not with force, but with something deeper, an understanding of life itself. As the Night Stalker disappeared into the shadows, the jungle slowly returned to normal. Leaves rustled, animals moved again, and the mist began to glow faintly. Avara looked at Ryan, her eyes wide with amazement. The rookie she had underestimated was no longer just a human. He was a force the jungle itself respected. And for the first time, she understood that survival in this world did not belong to the strongest, the loudest, or the most armed. Survival and even mastery belonged to those who could listen, who could understand, and who could inspire respect without a single strike. Ryan had done it, and Avara knew, deep in her heart, that the real journey was only beginning. Night fell over the outer wilds, and the campfire flickered softly, casting long shadows on the jungle floor. Princess Avara sat on a smooth rock, watching the flames dance, but her mind was not on the fire. It was on Ryan Hale. The quiet human had done what no one else could. He had calmed the apex predator, had walked through the jungle without a single misstep, and had earned the forest's respect. She studied him from a distance as he cleaned his simple gear, moving with that same calm, careful precision. His hands were steady, his breathing even. Nothing about him betrayed the tension, the fear, or the exhaustion that any ordinary soldier would show after facing the outer wilds. Finally, she rose and approached him. "Ryan," she said softly, keeping her voice low, "how do you do this? How do you survive, and even thrive, in a place that terrifies everyone else?" He paused and looked up at her, his brown eyes calm and honest. "I listen," he said simply. "I watch. I try to understand what the jungle wants me to know, not what I want to force it to do." Avara frowned. "But that is not all. There is something different about you. Something more powerful." Ryan glanced down at the fire. He seemed thoughtful, even hesitant. "Princess, most of my life, strange things have happened around me. Animals trust me without reason. Storms calm when I am outside. Machines respond as if they know me. I have always felt a connection. I didn't understand it. Avara's heart tightened. She had seen humans in her lifetime, courageous ones, strong ones, clever ones, but never one like this. Never one who could command the jungle and even the apex predators without lifting a weapon. Are you saying this power is part of you? She asked softly. He nodded, a faint sadness in his eyes. I think so. But it is not something I show. Not because I am afraid of others, but because I do not want to hurt anyone. I am still learning what it is, and how to control it. The princess felt a lump rise in her throat. Here was a human, quiet, humble, and unassuming, yet holding something that could change entire worlds. She realized that she had underestimated him from the very beginning. She had judged his quietness as weakness, his humility as inexperience. And she had been completely wrong. You could be dangerous, she said softly, if this power fell into the wrong hands. Rian shook his head. I am careful, princess. I do not want to harm anyone. I want to protect. His gaze met hers, steady and unwavering. That is why I am here. Not for glory, not for recognition, but to help those who cannot help themselves. Avara looked at him, feeling a strange warmth she had never felt before. Respect, awe, and something deeper, harder to name. She realized that humanity, the species she had quietly underestimated for so long, held potential beyond imagination. Not just strength or courage, but something far rarer, the ability to inspire life.